Good evening, everyone, and welcome back once again to Vicious Rants. And of course, I am your host, your YouTube messiah, and often imitated, never duplicated superstar Tim Vicious. And talking about this week's Raw, it is the Go Home Raw for Night of Champions. And well, first few things before I get into the show. One, it sucked, but it wasn't like really bad like the past few weeks, but it was good, but it could have been better, especially for a go-home show. You know, I personally give the score about a good 4.5 to 5, giving 5 as a mercy out of 10. And also, normally I reserve these statements for the end of the show, but my official statement in regard to Nick Meltzer McGee at PW Smart Talk, in regards to your federal injunction against myself and my client, Miss Bronx Bitch Forever, in regards to saying that you and your client, Mr. Joshua Smith, have full legal rights on having Brock Lesnar as SmackDown talent. Well, Mr. McGee, one, federal injunctions will not stop me or my client from producing the best shows to the best of our natural abilities and to the best of the talent's natural abilities. As well, if Brock Lesnar is a SmackDown talent, riddle me this then, McGee. Why is it that he has not been on SmackDown since he lost to Goldberg? Now moving on with the show. So, they start out Raw with Paul Heyman coming out with Paul Heyman in the ring. Thank you. Talking about on how Lesnar is going to victimize and brutalize John Cena at Night of Champions, and Paul also wound up doing like a friggin' dubstep remix of Cena's music. Apple dough. At least I think it says apple dough. I don't know. It could be apple dough. Could be rotten potato. I don't know. Make it whatever you want, you know. It's really hard to tell. So anything that can sound rhymes, you know. Rotten potato, apple dough, anything like that, you know. But anyways, he goes and does that. Then next thing you know, Cuck Fina comes out, still wearing the Happy Meal shirt with the picture on him doing nom 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 on it, which. Yeah, that's all I picture when I see that shirt. It's just him doing nom 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 nom. You know, but he comes out, says, "I gave you an ultimatum last week. You have 24 hours to produce Brock Lesnar." Now, pause. John, think about that sentence for a minute. Last week, I gave you 24 hours. Your math is either really wrong or you never hung around a proper book, or you never hung around any kind of bookies. Because, dude, seriously. I mean, ugh. But anyways, he said to bring Brock Lesnar for a fight, otherwise he was going to beat up Heyman. Heyman, in his wisdom, and I can vouch myself, being an advocate myself, said, well, I'm a businessman. I personally would prefer to have the people pay $9.99 to see that fight. But if you want these people to see the fight for free, by all means. And then started to tease and hype up that Brock was there, and then Brock's not here yet. Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely loved it, Paulie. Absolutely loved it, Paulie. And then starts laughing at John. Next thing you know, John grabs him, says, "You're going to get him. You got until halftime before Because if he's not here, I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat. And I'm going to explain that part right after I'm done explaining the beginning of this, because it was like a 2 to 3 part segment. There were a few different segments with that, but wound up doing that, and then wound up mentioning on how Paul wound up saying Brock had a private jet because he doesn't tolerate people, which is saying something considering he's a husband and a father. Hopefully not like those NFL guys, but moving on. He doesn't tolerate people, and yeah, he'll be there soon enough. And then John does the threat, and then says at halftime, if he's not here, I'm gonna beat you up. Which, again, pause. John, that is a heel thing to do. Beating up a manager. You know, I mean, Paul Heyman is nothing more but a simple manager, an advocate. You know, how does that solidify you in your babyface status as beating up a defenseless, untrained manager who, for all intents and purposes, has probably never been in a fight in his life? Not including any matches that he may have been put in at any point in time, mind you. But I'm talking actual, real, fist-to-fist, Marcus of Queenberry's rules kind of fight. You know, but seriously, how does that make you a babyface, man? I mean, that's as bad as with TNA, Bully Ray putting Dixie through a table and then everyone praising that. No! No, that is horrible! But, yeah, next thing you know, John grabs Heyman in the headlock, drags him into his locker room and says, "You got until halftime," which drove me nuts to no end, because why don't you just straight up say you want people to not watch the football game that was on that night? Seriously. And he drug him into John's personal locker room, and then grabbed, of all people, the giant walking disaster, quite possibly my favorite wrestler to make jokes on, the Great Khali, to stand watch at his door. And John's like, "Don't let him out. You no let him out." And then wound up saying something in Pujai, and I can't copy that, you know. The most I can do is count to 10 in Spanish, really. That's about it. But after that, fast forward to that later on in the show with that part, Paul's trying to call Brock. He can't get a signal. Next thing you know, halftime hits, and John drags Cena out to John drags Cena. Work with me, folks. John drags Paul out to the ring, says, "You got to bring him out here or I'm going to kick your ass." Excuse me. Next thing you know, Paul, down on his knees with a mic in his hand, just starts getting that evil, sinister laugh of his, in which case, once he starts doing that, you know it's going to get good. He starts doing that, and he's like, "I finally got you. It took this to get the monster out of you." And this was brilliant. Brilliant on Paul's part, because what he did, he pulled Cena's punk card, because he even brought up all those points that I just mentioned. He is not an athlete. He's a 49-year-old father of 2. All he is just a manager. And John Cena, who is, you know, probably the biggest baby face of the company, you know, going to beat up a defenseless man just to get a message across to a heel. Beautiful. He did that. He hit that mark on the head. Like, you gonna do that? You wanna cross that line? You know, like the Emperor in Star Wars. Good, good, let the hate flow. Kind of like that. And Cena, in his ultimate babyface sense, did not do it, and then next thing you know, cue Brock. Brock comes out, they do a stare down, Brock gets in the ring, Cena goes to try and get him, Brock rolls around and then wham! Throws him with a German suplex, starts walking away, and then Cena, then they start going at it again, and then Brock's just looking like, I got your number. I'll see you on Sunday. Which is brilliant. I love the way that they're billing and booking Brock right now. Because, you know, it's almost, in a sense, it kind of reminds me and has me thinking like on how, like, in the NWA days, with the territorial days, with the NWA champion, you know, not always being in this area, you know, and going around everywhere else until he eventually gets back to that area. It can work. You know, if they do it like that, it can work. You know, hell, it would wind up even working for guys like Dewey or Batista if it was booked properly. But moving on, now with the rest of the show. First match of the night, Jericho versus Kane. It was a good match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It showed that Kane, you know, even though given Kane's age, he can still roll with it. He can still roll, and he can still fight with the best of them, and he can hit hard. I didn't like the fact that Kane was wrestling in Dockers, but beggars can't be choosers on that. And also with the whole exposed turnbuckle thing, I didn't think that was really needed. You know, I mean, you could have told the story without it. And also, while we're talking about telling the story in that match, huge pet peeve that is still driving me nuts to no end. And I had to sit down and I had to think, and I actually had to think, why is it that this constantly bothers me? It's having a damn commercial run in the middle of a match. Okay, here's where my problem is. Everyone, and I'm not talking just me, you watching, anyone, everyone nowadays is not wired to have a long attention span to sit there for 20 to 17 to like 30 minutes watching one single match. You know, instead they'll have that one match and then whoop, go to break. Oh, we're back. No, while that commercial's going, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna feel the urge to want to change the channel. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that I had this on DVR, and chances are I may have. Not as a knocks on Jericho or Kane saying that the match was bad, but in all honesty, Monday night, my Eagles were playing, so that's why. But, you know, it's, seriously, putting commercials in the middle of a match is a horrible idea. Time your commercials out properly, and if you can do that right, you can tell a match, tell a story for a match through an entire one, and then right after the match is done, you show the replay, and then you show the guy doing, yeah, walking back, boom, then go to commercial. Then you come back, you could do a video, you could do a promo, or you can go straight to another match, whatever. But either way, do that. You know? That would be on how you would really want to go and tell that story. You know, but again, back to the match though, with Kane and Jericho. You know, the open turnbuckle, Kane wound up getting hit in that spot with the open turnbuckle, then Jericho got a quick roll up, 1, 2, 3, and then he got the win. Next matchup, Swagger versus Bo Dallas. And not gonna lie, this is probably, in my personal opinion, Bo's best match yet since being on the main roster. And I thought it was good. Swagger had a nice, good, mean, aggressive streak going on him. You know, hopefully this means Swagger's going to get more of a good push. even if he's not in a main event spot, you know, have him go and chase after the U.S. title after Cesaro and Sheamus are done their thing. You know? Because, even yet, that just quick thing that just popped in my head right now, literally. Cesaro beat Sheamus for the U.S. title at Night of Champions. Then next thing you know, have Swagger go after Cesaro. Because then you can have the feud go around that Swagger wants the U.S. title because a real American deserves it, and also reignite that whole Cesaro left the real Americans angle. That can work, you know? But back to Swagger and Bo. Yeah, the whole time JBL saying that Swagger's getting like this because he Bo leaves, which I absolutely liked. You know, I liked on that part, which is saying something considering it's JBL, but you know, other than that though, the show itself, that match itself, it was good. And Swagger, he wound up getting the win with the ankle lock. And next up, sorry for the pause, I just had to swallow what dignity I have to say this match. An ST Divas tag match. Paige and the Bella, who wound up getting the boob job, versus AJ and from Munda Cheese Bella. I know her name's like one of those cheese is a fancy cheese or something. I'm eventually gonna remember it, but either way, big thing that confused me more than anything with this match: why have both Bella girls out there for that match when you just have Paige and Swiss cheese Bella, you know, out there the whole time. You have, you know, you got the one with the boob job and AJ just literally sitting there at ringside the whole time like, come on, look for a tag. Never once, not even an attempt to get a tag. This is, I can't figure it out. Honestly, because the NXT divas are doing more of a phenomenal job than the ones on the main roster. Then again, hell, everyone on NXT is doing a hell of a better job. You know? I can't fucking figure it out because, for the life of me, you know, women's wrestling isn't supposed to be like some glitzy, glamour, twirl your hair and put a headlock on kind of thing. No. No, God, no. I know girls that could do death matches, for crying out loud. And I didn't even touch death matches. And yet, for some odd reason, it makes no sense. That is a huge... It makes no sense on that part. You know, right after that, Paige wound up hitting the Turner, and then got the 1, 2, 3. She held the belt up like that. Woo, yay. AJ started skipping around, following her, and then they were moving in harmony around the ring. And then the Bella with the boob job started beating up her sister. And just, really? Where's the story behind the match also? Next match, it was the most shocking match of the night in my book. Big Show versus Bray Wyatt. Because I never once pictured them booking this, but it was good. It was good. Not like match of the night good, but it was like, whoa, I didn't expect this to happen, and it's actually half decent good. You know? It's Show played to his strengths, Bray played to his, and it was really nice. You know, Show was a bit, you know, Show wound up having, yeah, I was impressed with on how they both worked with each other. It shows that they got good chemistry. Hopefully we can get something later on down the road with them too. But just as Show was about to get the 1, 2, 3, Harper came in, started beating him down. And yeah, and after that, yeah, it's Rowan and Harper just started beating on them, and then next thing you know, Big Show started getting second win, knocked them both down, Rowan and Harper down, while Bray was sitting in the rocking chair like, laughing at him. You know, hopefully, you know, like I said, maybe it'll lead to something. Obviously not at the show on Sunday, because it is way too damn early to try and build something up that quick. But next matchup, it was a trios match. The Usos and Sheamus versus Cesaro and the Dust Brothers, which, by the way, want to call it right now, JBL did say the Dust Brothers on Raw. And also, I've been calling them the Dust Brothers before he did. So, JBL, royalties, man, royalties. Bring it on my way, brother. Now, big thing that confused me on this is they're still playing Goldie and Stardust up like they're baby faces, but they came out and teamed with Cesaro, who's an obvious heel, and that's just kind of a head scratcher right there, like, huh? And again, the story, there's no story behind the match, which, for the life of me, I cannot figure out on why. You know? The match itself wasn't all that good. It just felt like a clock. It just felt like something just as a filler. You know? I mean, obviously the baby faces were going to win because good has to triumph over evil. You know? Just once I'd like to see heels actually be strong, dominant, and, you know, be like, holy shit, I'm afraid to mess with this guy. You know, in the same kind of sense that they're booking Brock. But, you know, heaven forbid that they would wind up doing that. You know, could have to do with the fact that they got 30 freaking writers on the creative team. You know? That makes no sense. See this shout out list I put on here at the end of each show, each week. You have us as a creative team, and we all don't have to write. We'll have 2, 3 at the very most be the writers. Everyone else though, we all work as creative to brainstorm and bounce ideas off of each other. That would be on how it could work. Because I guarantee everyone on that list would make Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views a hell of a lot better than what's currently being out there right now. Next matchup, it was quite possibly the worst match of the night, if you can even say that. Cameron versus Naomi. And I only say Naomi because I remember on how to spell her name, because Naomi says I moan backwards. Think about that, man. And anyways, as far as what the match goes, horrible, and quite possibly the biggest botch of the night. And I swear, if this isn't nominated for Botchmania's, biggest screw up of the year, I don't know what the hell it will be. Cameron did a split leg drop, and while Naomi was laying on her belly, and while she was down, she looked at the ref and yelled at the ref twice. They do a count while she's laying on the belly. Now, anyone can tell you, anyone, even a 5-year-old who play wrestles, can tell you, when you have to pin your opponent, you have to have their back on the ground, and you have to lay on top of their chest and their belly. And well, you know, I'm pretty sure even Eva's Got Herpes would know better on how to do a pin, for crying out loud. Next matchup, it was Miz and Sandow versus Ziggler and Truth, which I absolutely love on how they're having R-Truth and Dolph Ziggler working together, you know. And if anyone's got Photoshop, do me a favor. Help hook my boy up. Black Ziggler, if you're not following him on Twitter, make sure y'all look for him. He's a hell of a cool-ass dude, by the way. You know, just, you know, Photoshop. Get his face on R-Truth and take out R Ziggler's name and put in Black Ziggler on there. If you could do that for him, you know, I would. I don't have Photoshop. I ain't got that kind of money, and I've made so many, and they won't let me get any more free trials for Photoshop, so. But anyways, the match itself, it was pretty alright, you know. It was what you'd expect for a tag match on Raw. Big thing that confused me was Lawler rooting for Miz, you know. Jerry going heel commentator for this match. You know, yeah, I'm a fan of his because I watched some of his movies and now I like, what the fuck? Does no one know what the hell they're doing right now? Seriously, I feel like I'm watching WCW from back in 1993 where everyone just tossed papers up in the air and said, "Phew, let's do that." You know, and had whatever. Because honestly, that made more sense than what the current product is right now. Anyways, on with the match. Ziggler and Truth, they wound up getting a win. Yeah, Miz went to go take a... Sandow was holding Ziggler. Miz went to go take a swing. Ziggler ducked at the last second. Wham! Miz wound up decking Sandow, and he was like... Miz was like... and Ziggler, wham! Caught him with a zigzag, got the 1, 2, 3. And, yeah. Next matchup, Reigns versus Rollins, which confused me to no end because why book this match now on Raw? Why give this match on Raw for free when given on how they ended last week's Raw with Rollins doing the crossbody off the top of the cage and then doing a curb stomp, giving Reigns a curb stomp onto a chair, you know, all they had to do was have them two swing at each other backstage and to help build up a match for Night of Champions, and instead of me shelling out $10 to go see that match on a pay-per-view now, I'm getting to watch that match now for free. Do you see where the problem is on that? It makes no sense whatsoever. The match itself, it was good, you know. It's Rollins, he wound up doing a lot of the work to help show the wrestling aspect moves. Not as a knock on Reigns for his, but the point being, like I've said before with Reigns, feel like he got brought up a little too early. Still feels a little green to me. You know, would like to see him, you know, get a little more polished, maybe a few more actual, you know, wrestling moves on him besides just like a Samoan drop or a clothesline suplex or the basics, you know. On how the win came to be, Reigns got the win. On how it came to be, Rollins first gave him a buckle bomb, going from one corner and literally walked while Reigns was up on his shoulders to another to give him a buckle bomb. After that, he went to go for a pin, and then Rollins went to go do the curb stomp. Reigns moved out of the way, and then Reigns started getting momentum, went one way, then another, and then spear. And then got the 1, 2, 3. And again, like I said, why give this match away for free? You know? And I'm pretty sure they're doing this match at Night of Champions. I'm not 100% certain, but if they are, why would you do that match? Why would you give the match that's going to be on this coming Sunday now? Is my big thing. You know, that's the big thing for me. Anyways, time for the final segment of the night. Mark Henry doing a rally for America to help rally up everyone for his match with Rusev on Sunday. Which, like I said, I always love patriotic storylines because, you know, it's a good way to get somebody over real quick as a babyface. Good way to build cheap heat to get heat, so that way you can get that to help work as a heel. And, you know, it's just something that I've always liked. You know, but it's honestly, this really did feel more like a mid-card segment. And I know for a fact they probably booked this at the end of the show just so that way they could get people to go away from the football game. They probably, like I said, the Cena's thing should have been at the end of the show. They kept pushing halftime, excuse me, halftime, so that way they could get people away from the Monday night game. And this should have been in that spot. That's what it was. But anyways, Henry was doing that. Next thing you know, Lana and Rusev came out. And Lana was talking about in '92 when Henry was going to compete. And he had to come out. He couldn't. And Russia won the medal in that one. And then they start, you know, the normal, I'm going to kick your ass, no, I'm going to kick your ass kind of thing. Back and forth. And then Henry, next thing you know, holding the flag, good and proud, started saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Next thing you know, Rusev comes in midway through, and then they start going at each other. Rusev gets him knocked down just as he's about to go and lock the accolade in. Henry counters, and then just starts wailing on him, and then tosses him out of the ring. After that, end of show, fade to black. Like I said, it was a pretty okay show. I give it was a 4 to a 5. You know, I can't even say 4.5, but somewhere in between there. One of you make up my mind for me. Anyways, that's all for this week's show. So, like on normal, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, go back, watch all the other episodes. Look for me on Twitter at Tim Vicious. Make sure y'all look for my backup account also, Tim_Vicious. I get put in Twitter jail every now and again. Also, like I showed this list earlier, but I'm going to do it again. Make sure you follow all these cool-ass cats right here on Twitter. Vicky Earls. Make sure you follow Vicky. Make sure you look for Vicky's YouTube channel. I am Danny Sunday. Mucky Morris. Axel Mulligan. Make sure y'all check out Axel's show, Axel's Analysis. It's a lot like this, but he talks about NXT. Sunday Segue. Kenny, can't wait to get back on again, man. Really looking forward to doing that Beat the Clock match with Shugs. Sinfully Sabrina, Cranky Grandpa, Legion Lady Aaron, Ava Ben, Just a Stupid Mark. Make sure y'all check out Ali Ben's and Masked Mark's TNA show, TNA Turnaround. Also, my client, who, as I've said, will be the next Raw General Manager, Bronx Bitch, forever. And, like I always tell y'all, you love me, great, you hate me. Fuck yous.